The shift hits you like a quiet explosion in the chest. 1 second you're still trapped in the old script, heart racing every time her name pops up on your phone, rehearsing the perfect text, calculating how soon is too soon to reply, wondering if you said too much or not enough, if you're coming off too eager or too distant, and the next second the veil rips clean off. You see it all with brutal clarity, the hours you spent crafting messages that disappeared into the void, the nights you lay awake analyzing her silence, the way you bent yourself into shapes you thought she wanted, all of it for nothing. Absolutely nothing. She never rewarded the effort. She never lit up for the explanations, the confessions, the proof that you were different, that you cared harder than the last guy. All those things you thought were gold, being available at 2 a.m., remembering every tiny detail she ever mentioned, dropping everything the moment she needed something, turned out to be weights dragging you underwater while she floated away untouched. You finally noticed the pattern you'd been blind to your entire life. The more you reached, the more she retreated. The more you poured, the less she drank. The more you tried to lock her in with logic and loyalty and love, the faster she slipped through your fingers. And then the truth lands, simple and merciless. Women don't respond to what you do nearly as much as they respond to how you make them feel when you're doing nothing at all, when you're calm, centered, unbothered, carrying an energy that says your world doesn't rise and fall with her attention. The moment that clicks, the game you didn't even know you were playing ends. You don't quit because you're hurt. You quit because you finally woke up. And waking up feels like taking your first full breath after years of holding it in just to keep someone else comfortable. For years you were blind to the pattern because you were inside it, living it, breathing it, justifying it every single time it slapped you in the face. You told yourself, this time will be different if I just try harder, if I explain better, if I prove I'm willing to move mountains. But the mountains never moved her. They only exhausted you. Look back honestly and you'll see the script played out exactly the same way, over and over, with devastating precision. The second you started double texting because she left you on read, her replies got shorter. The moment you cleared your schedule, the instant she hinted at being free, she suddenly remembered she had plans. When you panicked after 12 hours of silence and sent the "Hey, everything okay? I miss you" paragraph, she waited another full day before tossing you a breadcrumb. Every time you leaned forward emotionally, she took 2 steps back. Every time you made yourself the safe, predictable, always there guy, she treated you like background noise. You overinvested and she underinvested. You over-communicated and she went quiet. You showed need and she showed indifference. You turned her into your priority and she turned you into an option she could pick up whenever boredom struck. It felt personal, like something was wrong with you. It wasn't. It was balance restoring itself. Nature hates imbalance. The more you chased, the more you repelled. The more you tried to close the gap, the wider it became. And the cruelest part? She wasn't doing it on purpose. She wasn't evil or calculated. She was simply responding to the energy you handed her on a silver platter, the energy of a man who valued her more than he valued himself. That energy never sparks desire. It only breeds comfort, and comfort is the silent killer of attraction. Once you finally see the pattern for what it is, an unbreakable law, you stop fighting it. You stop blaming her, stop blaming yourself, and you start respecting the law instead of breaking yourself against it. The first time you let a full day pass without texting first, something electric happens. You feel the itch in your fingers, the old panic whispering that she'll forget you exist, that someone else will slide in while you're playing games. But you sit with it. You breathe through it. You go train, handle your work, live your life. And then her name lights up your phone, not a breadcrumb, but a real message. Curious. Playful. Checking if you're still there. That's the first crack in the illusion. You stop jumping into every silence like it's a fire you have to put out. Instead, you let the quiet stretch. And in that vacuum she starts talking more, asking questions, filling the space you used to flood with noise. The moment you quit volunteering your every thought, feeling, and location, she leans forward trying to pull them out of you. Mystery returns. Curiosity reignites. Suddenly you're the puzzle again, not the open book she already skimmed and shelved. When you stop treating her like the only woman alive, like your calendar, your mood, your entire day revolves around her availability, she feels the ground shift beneath her feet. Your attention stops feeling guaranteed and starts feeling valuable. She notices how other people respect your time, how your life keeps moving forward with or without her input. That contrast stings her ego just enough to wake her up. You're not doing any of this to punish her. You're doing it because you finally respect yourself too much to orbit someone who hasn't earned the center of your universe. And the irony is brutal: the second your energy stops chasing her validation, hers starts chasing yours. She doubles texts. She sends memes at midnight. She asks what you're doing this weekend. She wants to know why you're so calm, so busy, so unbothered. Your detachment doesn't push her away, it pulls her in harder than any grand gesture ever did. Because for the first time, she's the one reaching, and reaching feels like proof that you're finally worth reaching for. She never remembers the man who gave her everything. She remembers the man who made her feel like she had to earn it. You can flood her with affection, good morning texts, endless compliments, flowers on random Tuesdays, dropping your plans the second she's free, and watch her relax into complacency. She'll enjoy it, sure. She'll smile, say thank you, maybe even post a story about how spoiled she feels. But the fire dies. The spark that once made her heart race flattens into comfort, and comfort is where attraction goes to suffocate. You become the dependable thermostat she never has to think about again. Then one day you set a single boundary. You don't explode, you don't lecture, you simply choose yourself. You tell her you're busy tonight, or you let her know you're not cool with being spoken to that way, or you go quiet when she's playing hot and cold. Nothing dramatic. Just a calm, quiet line in the sand. And her entire nervous system lights up. Her tone changes. Her texts get longer. She starts adding emojis she never used before. She asks if you're okay, if she did something wrong, if you're mad. Suddenly the energy is electric again. Why? Because respect hit the room. Real respect, the kind that says your time, your peace, and your presence are not free real estate. The man who can love intensely but still guard his heart creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the oxygen desire needs to burn. Guaranteed access feels safe, but safe is boring. Earned access feels dangerous, and dangerous wakes her up. Women don't crave the man who invests the most hours, the most words, the most money. They crave the man who invests selectively, who can walk into a room and make his approval feel like a prize she still has to win. Emotional discipline isn't cold, it's the hottest thing a man can carry. Because the second she realizes your heart isn't on the table for anyone who smiles at you, she starts fighting to get a seat at that table. And that fight, that beautiful, instinctive, feminine chase is what real attraction has always been built on. You thought the way to her heart was volume. Say it louder, say it more often, say it with more feeling. You dropped the I love you like it was ammunition, fired it 100 times, 1,000, waiting for the walls to crumble. She smiled politely, said it back sometimes, but her eyes stayed flat. The words bounced off her like rain on a windshield. They never soaked in. They never changed anything. Then one day you go quiet, not out of spite, not to punish her, but because your own life finally pulled you away. Work demanded focus. The gym demanded pain. Friends demanded presence. You disappeared for a weekend, maybe longer. No check-ins. No, just thinking of you. Radio silence born from self-respect, not strategy. And suddenly her phone is blowing up with questions she never asked before. You okay? Did I do something? Why do I feel like you're slipping away? She rereads your old messages. She stalks your socials at 3 a.m. She brings you up in conversations with friends, trying to decode the shift. One moment of genuine absence did what months of devotion never could. It made her feel the full weight of potentially losing you. Treat her like royalty every single day and she starts believing queens don't have to try. She gets lazy. She takes. She assumes. But pull your energy back once, just once, and the throne starts to feel cold. Your absence echoes louder than every gift, every compliment, every sacrifice you ever made. She feels the vacuum where your attention used to live 24/7, and that empty space screams. It screams so loud she can't sleep. That's contrast. That's the emotional pendulum swinging the other way. Women don't fall deeper when you double down on affection. They fall deeper when they feel the sharp difference between having you and almost losing you. The hottest flame isn't the one that burns constant, it's the one that flickers just enough to remind her how dark the room gets when it's gone. And once she feels that darkness, she'll chase the light harder than you ever chased her. She doesn't want the man who needs her to breathe. She wants the man who chooses her while still breathing perfectly fine on his own. You used to think love looked like collapse. The second she pulled away, you folded. You sent the long voice notes, the "I can't lose you" texts, the promises to change whatever she didn't like. You made her the sun, and when she moved even slightly, your entire sky went dark. You thought that desperation was proof of depth. It wasn't. It was proof you had no ground beneath you without her validation. Then one day she does the usual dance, goes cold, gets distant, starts replying hours later with one-word answers, and something inside you refuses to break. You don't chase. You don't spiral. You don't beg for an explanation. You simply feel the sting, acknowledge it, and keep building your day anyway. You hit the gym. You close the deal at work. You laugh with your boys. You live. And in that moment you realize the terrifying truth, you will be okay without her. More than okay. You'll be whole. That's when the power flips. The man who can walk away without dying inside becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Because now she feels it, the very real possibility that your love is a choice, not a necessity. And choice is infinitely more powerful than need. Need suffocates. Choice electrifies. Women don't fall for the man whose world ends when she leaves the room. They fall for the man whose world keeps turning, who can look her dead in the eyes and mean it when he says, "I want you here, but I don't need you to stay who I am." That man doesn't make her the destination. He makes her the passenger if she's lucky enough to earn the seat. And once she realizes the car is moving with or without her, she fights like hell to get in. Not because he's cruel, but because for the first time she's with a man whose love feels like freedom, not a cage. And freedom, brother, is the rarest aphrodisiac on earth. Most men here be vulnerable and think it means unzip your chest on the first date, hand her every fear, every scar, every dark corner of your past, and call it bravery. You sit there bleeding emotionally, thinking the rawness will make her feel safe, make her open up and return. Instead her body language closes. Her eyes glaze. She nods politely while slowly retreating. What you labeled real she experienced as chaos. You dumped a decade of trauma in one night and expected her nervous system to catch it. It couldn't. It wasn't ready. You weren't sharing strength, you were offloading weakness disguised as depth. Real vulnerability isn't volume. It's timing. It's the man who can sit in pain without collapsing, who can feel rage without exploding, who can miss her without texting at 2 a.m. That man reveals himself in measured doses, one story when trust is earned, one fear when respect is proven, one tear only after she's shown she can hold it without dropping you. He can love with his whole chest but still keeps the ribs locked until the right key turns. Emotional discipline is the sexiest rarity on earth because it screams one thing: this man is safe to feel with. He won't flood me. He won't punish me with his moods. He won't use his feelings as weapons or chains. He can go deep without drowning both of us. Most men swing between stone-cold avoidance and emotional diarrhea. The disciplined man lives in the narrow, powerful middle. He feels everything but controls the release. When you master that, women lean in instead of away. They ask the deeper questions. They share their own shadows because your steadiness gives them permission. You become the first man who made intensity feel safe instead of scary. And that quiet, controlled depth? It hits her primal wiring harder than any grand emotional performance ever could. Because a woman doesn't want to be your therapist or your savior. She wants to be chosen by a man who already saved himself. You finally stop making women the mission and start making yourself the mission. The gym gets serious. The money gets intentional. The circle tightens. Your days fill with purpose instead of paragraphs. You're not out here monk moding to impress anyone, you're doing it because it feels right to finally put yourself first after years of emotional charity. And something wild happens: the less you need them, the more they need you. Women who once curved you slide back into your DMs with "Hey stranger" and heart eye emojis. The ones who left you on read now double text. The ones who said you were too much suddenly call you different in the best way. They feel the shift before you say a word, the deeper voice, the calmer texts, the way you end calls first because your time is no longer negotiable. Your attention stops being background noise and starts feeling like front row tickets. Now when you give a compliment, it lands heavy because it's rare. When you make plans, she clears her calendar because she knows you won't chase if she flakes. When you pull her close, she melts because she finally senses she earned it. Your approval flips from default to luxury. She starts dressing better for you. She starts texting paragraphs trying to keep your interest. She starts asking for reassurance the way you once did. The entire dynamic reverses without you saying a single manipulative word. You didn't trick them. You didn't play harder to get. You just became harder to keep. You became the man whose life is so full that access to it feels like a privilege, not a guarantee. And once a woman tastes that privilege, she fights to protect it. She initiates. She invests. She pursues. Not because you demanded it, but because your new standard silently commanded it. The chaser becomes the chosen, the beggar becomes the king, all because you finally stopped revolving around her and started revolving around the only person who will be with you until the end, you. You finally close the book on the old you and feel something deeper than victory, gratitude mixed with quiet grief. Gratitude for the man you've become, grief for the years you spent on your knees begging for crumbs from tables that were never meant for you. Every ghosted text thread, every one-sided situationship, every night you refreshed her story while she slept peacefully, those weren't failures. They were tuition. Expensive, brutal tuition that bought you the clearest vision you'll ever have. You look back and almost don't recognize the guy who rewrote messages 20 times, who said "I'm here whenever you need me" while his own dreams gathered dust, who apologized for having standards because someone made him feel difficult for wanting reciprocity. That version of you died so this version could live. And this version doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't beg. He chooses. He doesn't crumble when she pulls away, he levels up and lets the distance do the talking. Now you walk with a stillness that unsettles people who are used to chaos. Women feel it before they see you, the absence of need, the presence of power. They lean in closer, speak softer, touch your arm a little longer, because your energy finally says what your old words never could: I am whole with or without you. And that wholeness is magnetic. It pulls the right ones forward and repels the wrong ones without you lifting a finger. The deepest truth settles into your bones like warm steel: everything worth having now comes to you. Peace comes. Purpose comes. Real love comes, not the frantic, addictive kind, but the calm, chosen, mutual kind. You no longer run after anyone because you finally became someone worth running toward. The chase is over, not because you quit, but because you won. You won yourself back. And once a man wins himself, the world rearranges to match his worth. The right woman doesn't just step toward him, she stays, because for the first time she's found a man she's terrified of losing. And you, brother, smile quietly, because you already know, you never lost anything that was truly yours. You only lost what was teaching you how priceless you are.